What's up guys, ProdiJay here and welcome to episode 7 of Setup Tour Showdown, where I review the setups you guys sent me and give my feedback. And if you want to submit your setup for the series, you can find a submission guide video down below. Now for today's setups, they're from Cheyenne, Angel, Ryan, Dennis, and Jaden. And for today's episode, all the setups are going to be from the same age, so it'll be kind of interesting to see how the setups differ from one another. But anyways guys, thank you for submissions as I very much appreciate it, but without further ado, let's get right into the video. Also, make sure you stick to the very end as I do have a giveaway announcement. Alright, now starting off, we got Cheyenne from Pennsylvania. He's 13 years old and uses his setup for gaming and sometimes making YouTube videos. And before we talk about the rat's nest, let's talk about the equipment. For his display, he's using a 24-inch 1080p 60Hz HP monitor, and for peripherals, he's using a Red Dragon keyboard and mouse kit. And when it comes to audio, he's using a microphone and some speakers from Walmart. And holding up all of his gear is the Amazon Basics gaming desk. And now for his PC specs, he's rocking a GTX 1650, an i3-9100F, 16GB of Corsair Vengeance RAM, and a 500GB NVMe inside a micro ATX dark flash case. So as a specs, they are pretty good, especially for a 13-year-old. But now let's talk about the overall setup, starting off with the cable management. Now Cheyenne, although there is a cable cage underneath the desk, you barely utilized it to its full potential, and even still, you could have tried bunching the cables together with Velcro straps and stuffed it into the cage for an easier time. And although the equipment is kinda on the budget side, the overall setup could have easily looked 10 times better if you manage your cables, but instead it kinda just looks like a rat's nest. Also, I would recommend removing the bottle of Axe and instead put an accessory or decoration of some kind, because body spray belongs in a bathroom, not a setup, unless you really need it. But regardless, if you fix up your cables a bit and get an accessory or two, the setup will look way better and cleaner. Up next, we got Angel from Maryland. He's 13 and uses his setup for gaming, online school, and streaming Rainbow Six Siege. But getting to the equipment, he's using a 75Hz Philips monitor. For peripherals, he's using the Corsair K55 keyboard along with the Logitech G903 mouse on an Aki mousepad. And for audio, he uses the Blue Yeti for his microphone and uses the Corsair Void Elite as his headset. And now for the PC specs, he's rocking a GTX 1660 Ti, an i7-9700F, 16GB of DDR4 RAM, a 250GB SSD, and a 1TB hard drive. And we're not too sure on what his case is, as the PC is a pre-built that they mentioned. But either way, similar to the last setup, this PC is pretty good for his age, not to mention that he can easily upgrade it more in the future. And now for the cable management of the setup, it's not really good, especially around the PC, but underneath the desk, it looks alright. But as of the area around the PC, I would recommend removing the cables from the front of the PC and plug them into the USB hub behind it, which I'm kinda confused on why he didn't really utilize it, cause in the photo, the hub itself has ports available. Also, because of how the PC is positioned, I would recommend getting a cable sleeve so the cords don't show. But besides the cable management, I think Angel did a good job of his setup, especially since he doesn't have much room to work with. Moving on, we got Ryan from Ireland with a pretty clean setup that he uses for gaming, 3D modeling, editing videos, and doing online school. But getting to the equipment, he's actually using a 32-inch TV as his main display, but he will be upgrading to a new monitor for Christmas. But moving on to the peripherals, he's using the Turtle Beach Impact keyboard, and for the mouse, he's using the HyperX Pulsefire FPS Pro. And for audio, he has the Sony 700Ns for his headphones and uses the Sony XB41 as his speaker. Now looking at the equipment so far, it's pretty alright, especially for the headphones, but I'm not a big fan of the keyboard and mouse, only because they follow a red color theme instead of the green and white theme going on in the setup. So it kinda looks conflicting in a way, but that's just my personal opinion. But now moving on to the PC specs, he's rocking an RTX 2060, a Ryzen 5 3600, 16GB of Crucial Ballistics RAM clocked at 3600MHz, a 250GB SSD, and 2TB hard drive, all inside a H510i case from NZXT. So with all those specs in mind, this PC is great considering that he's only 13 years old. And I also love how he changed the color of his RAM to green to fit the color scheme of the setup, and how he also added a pop vinyl inside for decoration, which looks nice. And now for the cable management underneath. Well, I mean, everything is out of sight and out of mind, but I do find it kind of funny and pretty creative that he used duct tape to keep the cords underneath his desk. But when he's older or saves up some money, I would recommend just installing a cable raceway or a cable rack, as it would look cleaner. But after going over all that, I just gotta say that I really like how clean the setup looks overall with the white and green theme. Plus the overall lighting in the setup looks nice, so I do give him props for that. And now near the end, we got Dennis from Canada. He's 13 and uses this setup mostly for gaming and watching videos. But getting to the equipment, he has a dual monitor setup with a 24-inch Acer monitor on the left and a 22-inch Samsung monitor on the right on a monitor stand. And now for the peripherals, he's using a Dairaya 60% keyboard with silent red switches and custom keycaps. And for his mouse, he has a Cooler Master 710 and then uses the GM1 as his gaming headset. And now for his PC specs, he has the GTX 1070, an Intel Xeon E5, 32GB of Corsair Vengeance RAM, and a 500GB TB hard drive inside the Corsair 175R case. Now looking at the specs, they're kind of really mismatched in a way, and I can see that there's most likely a bottleneck, especially with the CPU. Also, the cable management inside the PC isn't really all kept together and organized, so I would recommend fixing it up in the front. But speaking of cable management, it's not that good as it looks like you barely tried fixing it up or hiding the cables, but behind the monitors it looks alright though, so I would recommend fixing up the cables underneath the desk so they look cleaner. Also, I would recommend that you move the boxes and DVD players from underneath your desk as it doesn't belong there, and I'm not too sure how you can have feet room with all that stuff there. And I'm not trying to be rude, but even with cheaper equipment, you could easily make it look way better if you just clean up your surroundings. But regardless, at 13 years old, there's always enough time to upgrade the setup over time, which if I could recommend some upgrades, I would recommend possibly getting a white IKEA desk to contrast with your equipment and get a dual monitor mount instead of a single one, as it looks kinda off having one monitor taller than the other. But again, that's just my personal opinion. But overall, it's an alright setup, but it does need some work. And then last but not least, we got Jaden from Scotland, and like everyone else, he's 13 and uses his setup for gaming and editing YouTube videos. And just a quick glance at the setup, there's a lot going on, so let's get started. For his equipment, he's using a dual monitor display with one 22-inch AOC monitor and the other being a 22-inch HP monitor. For peripherals, he's actually using a full Red Dragon keyboard and mouse kit along with an extra large Red Dragon mouse pad. And for audio, he uses the Logitech Z200s as his speakers and uses the HyperX Clouds as his headset, and then finally uses the Fofine 669 as his main microphone. Now, despite him having some budget gear, he makes it look quite presentable and nice to look at as everything follows a red and blue color theme, which isn't rare, but it's not really common. But now moving on to his PC specs, he has a GTX 1650, a Ryzen 5 2600, 8GB of RAM clocked at 2400 MHz, and then he has a 240GB SSD and 1TB hard drive inside a CyberPower case. So as the specs, they're pretty alright, but I would recommend upgrading to a 3000 series Ryzen CPU or higher, as the 2000 series is slightly old. But he did mention that he gets about 100 FPS in Apex and 75 FPS in GTA 5 with custom settings, so I guess it's good for the time being. And now moving on to the cable management, it's actually quite good as he uses a cable sleeve underneath his desk and Velcro ties some of the cables, which because of how the desk is, I think this is probably the best way he could have handled it, especially due to the direction of the cables. But I would recommend possibly getting a cable sleeve for the cables that connect to the speaker on the right, as they are kinda out there. But looking at the setup overall, I really like the personality in this, from the small figurines to the airsoft guns on the shelves. And I also like how he has his own mini entertainment center for his Xbox One and Nintendo Switch, as it's basically like another setup in a way. And he did mention in his notes that it took about 1 year in order to build his full setup, which at 13 years old, this is a really good setup that you can easily upgrade over time, so I definitely give him props for that. But overall, I really like the setup as a personality. But guys, that's gonna wrap it up for episode 7 of Setup Tour Showdown, and I really like this episode mostly because we gotta see how some setups differ from one another of people of the same age. And I want to say thanks again to everyone featured in this episode, because this video wouldn't be up without you guys. And if you want to submit your setups to be featured in this series, be sure to watch my submission guide video in the description to learn how you can enter. Also, before I end the video, I'm actually gonna be doing a quick Christmas giveaway in my Discord server where 3 lucky people will get the chance to win any Steam game of their choice. And all you gotta do to enter is make sure you subscribe, join my Discord server, and just be active. And that's really it. And the winners will be randomly picked on Christmas Day, which is 2 days from now. So if you want to get the chance to win any Steam game of your choice, just follow all of the steps. But I think that's gonna wrap it up, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If so, drop a like and subscribe for more quality content like this, because I do love making videos like this one. Also, comment down below what you liked or disliked about the setups, and tell me which one was your favorite, as I know everyone will have their own opinions on the matter, so make sure you leave your thoughts down below. Also, if you love the content on my channel, then I would highly recommend following me on TikTok, as I post multiple daily videos on there, similar to what I post on YouTube, which right now we're actually at 35,000 followers on there. So if you'd like to see daily content from me, then I would highly recommend checking out my TikTok. But anyways guys, thanks for watching, and be sure to have notifications on so you won't miss any of my videos. My name's ProdiJay, and as always, stay classy.